We're live. Okay. Testing. Testing. Testing.
every single one of these people's votes does not matter at all because the money does not flow to their pockets, but the pockets of the oligarchs.
Do you know who does not want us to disengage? The people who came before us. They want us to use our voice. They want us never to lose the power that they fought for.
Why should I be incentivized to vote if I know for a fact that nobody is going to live up to the expectations that they're going to change when nothing has?
Do Americans still believe their vote has power, or do some view that not voting is a form of protest? I'm John Regalado, and from Jubilee Media, this is Surrounded, where one brave soul faces a room full of disagreeers. Today, we are exploring why many Americans choose not to vote, and how voting shapes policy, and why exercising the right to vote matters. I'm here with our featured guest, Maryland Governor Wes Moore. Welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you.
You ready to debate these non-voters?
Yes, sir.
Non-voters, you ready to debate the governor? All right, let's get into it.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Wes Moore. I'm the governor of Maryland. This is the first political office I've ever held, and today I am surrounded by 20 non-voters.
This episode is brought to you by Subaru. You know that place your mind always wanders to? The lake, the mountains, the homes of the people you love most. The completely redesigned 2026 Subaru Outback is built to help you get there. With legendary capabilities, standard symmetrical all-wheel drive, and the confidence to go further. The 2026 Subaru Outback. Love never looked so good. Visit Subaru.com/Outback to learn more.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day one, or day two, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
My first surrounded claim is nothing shapes policy more effectively than your vote.
All right, if you want to debate this claim, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
How you doing?
I'm Nassim. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, man.
So I kind of want to hear first why you think nothing shapes policy more than your vote.
Because I've seen it firsthand. I have seen how everything is a policy decision in our life. The water we drink is a policy decision. The air we are breathing, that is a policy decision. The neighborhoods we're policed and how we're policed. That everything I have realized and learned is a policy decision. And I think about for my own family. Like, I don't come from a family that's used to making the policies. I come from a family that's used to suffering the consequences of it. And so I know the policies that are being made are being made in our name, with our money, with our tax dollars, but oftentimes they do not reflect what we actually hope for. And that's why I believe that we have a responsibility to make sure we have the right people in the right seats that are making the right decisions that are actually on our behalf.
So I want to point to a historical example first, the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Yeah.
And that was kind of come about from a movement rather than necessarily getting to the ballot box. I'm not going to speak for everybody here, but I know for me, I feel that it's more effective to mobilize in the streets or protest in the streets rather than sometimes going out to the ballot box where I don't feel the candidates represent what I'm looking for. So I think there are other ways of participating in shaping policy rather than just voting.
No, and I think it's a very fair point, but also I think it's also important to remember what was the goal of the civil rights movement, right? The goal of the civil rights movement wasn't just to protest. The goal of the civil rights movement was to get to a civil rights act. Like, the reason that people protested, the reason that people were in the streets wasn't just because they wanted to blow a steam.
Yeah.
Was because they wanted the elected officials to hear their voice. And so we don't get things like the civil
These
rights
bots
Act.
probably could
not just the right to vote, but we don't
could
get like things like
do the whole mission themselves if I didn't have to
we don't
program
get the
them.
coordination of policies like separate
Probably.
separate equal just by the protest alone. What happened was it forced these politicians to do a better job of actually representing our views, and so that's why I think the protest does matter. Like, our voice does matter, but what the protest is actually helping to do, it's helping these politicians to wake up and realize that if you don't do what we are telling you to do, we will remove you from office.
So I hate to be that guy, but the claim specifically says nothing shapes policy more. And I don't personally think that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 would have happened without the movement. And that's why I'm arguing that the movement is what really provoked that to even happen in the first place. I guess my question is, how can we feel that candidates today are going to provoke this change and provoke the policies that we want without kind of protesting without giving them our vote in the first place.
Well, I think the protest is actually important, right? Because I think the protest is helping people to make sure they hear our voice. But then what also happens is what the protest then does, it leads us and allows us for a greater opportunity to make sure that our voice is heard with the elected officials. What was one of the goals of the civil rights movement, right? One of the biggest impacts of the civil rights movement was the Voting Rights Act, right? The Voting Rights Act was the thing that actually gave people a fundamental and constitutional right to vote. That we could have all the protests in the world, but at the end of the day, you still were telling me that I could not select who my elected officials were going to be.
Yeah.
And so one of the goals of the civil rights movement, and one of the biggest takeaways from the civil rights movement, is actually the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act would not have happened without protest, but the Voting Rights Act was the thing that gave people the right to vote to make sure we can get elected officials that actually represent our views.
Yeah, it was
And I'm not
fucking
gonna
Jim
disagree
Crow
that voting
laws,
isn't
fucking
an integral
racist.
part of democracy and provoking this policy that we're looking for. I'm arguing that it's not.
Which, by
quite
the
as
way,
effective as
Democrats
the movement
were
itself.
supported
I think
the
that
fucking
movement itself,
Dixiecrats.
coming from people who were not politically disengaged but actually very aware of what was going on in America. I feel like the conception around non-voters is that they're apathetic and they're not kind of understanding what's going on.
This
in
is
our political
easy.
landscape,
This is
whereas I think it's
really
actually
easy.
quite
The
opposite.
problem
You know, for me,
is
I
that
didn't
it
vote
takes them
because I
forever
was
to
too
kill
engaged. I felt like
anything,
I
and
didn't
I
vote.
have
couldn't
everything
morally
maxed
get
out.
behind either
I mean, if you
candidate,
look at
especially
my
in 2024.
enhancements,
so that's where I feel that voters now.
Look at my enhancements.
It's more
I have
rational not to
damage,
vote because of the
damage,
candidates that we're picking
damage.
rather than-
Still not
listen,
doing much
I think that
damage.
the frustration that you have is actually very much shared by me. And the truth is that when I told my family that I wanted to run for governor, like I had to convince many members of my family to vote for me. You know what I mean? And it's not because we're not cool, like we're cool. It's I had to convince them to vote. Because I think the frustration that you're talking about is real. But I would say if your voting rights were not important, why are they working so hard to take them away from you? If your voting rights were not so important, why is the dismantling of the Voting Rights Act so egregious? The reason that they are trying to take it away is because it is powerful. The reason that they're trying to take it away is because they know that is your chance to be able to make sure that people are not representing your views, we get them out. And that's why I think that the protest is important. But if you look at what the goal of the protest was, one of the biggest takeaways of the civil rights movement, it was actually voting rights.
I argue that was a different
We got
time.
to pause there. You've been voted out by the majority.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1. Hello.
Come on.
Sean.
Come on.
Nice to meet you. So, what I was really struggling with was when you said that we fought for voices, for representation, and that's kind of my whole rub with this, is that how are we supposed to affect policy changes with our vote? Our vote has been so diluted over time. I mean, you know, the
Get out,
1929
get out,
Act
get
that I'm
out,
referring to.
come on.
So,
There we go.
you know, I think about the Constitution, I think about Olympic history.
This does kind of
So,
make it kind of
you know,
boring
one of those
without
big things
any
that Washington
actual
mentioned
ability
in the
to attack
convention
anyone.
was that
I
we need
specifically
one
did it that way,
representative for
though,
every
'cause
30,000.
I
We're
tried
well off
attacking
We're
with
like 700,000
masterminds, and they always
people
drain
for one
endurance
representative.
like crazy, and
And
they
so,
do no
how
damage
is
at
my
all,
vote
basically.
supposed to
So
inform
there's really no
anything
point to
with a
having
representative
attacks
that cannot
as
hear me, and that is why we have an oligarchy. That is why we
main
have a
attacks
system
as
of
a
so
mastermind.
many.
A
trying
mastermind
to be
is
heard,
basically
and
a
then just
corrupter.
only a few out of this actually
Oh,
get
crap.
to dictate policy.
Bell drone died.
What is your solution to that?
I think the solution is we need people who are
So-
making better policies, because you know who made those policies?
My-
People that were sitting in power.
Yeah,
Right. When
that was 100 years ago.
Yeah, but think about it. You know, it was also 100 years ago. I was
Especially
considered a
after
defensive man.
we quit the which
Well,
sucks.
I mean, like, so the point is, we needed people.
I don't know, 100 years ago,
Well,
but
maybe not 100
yeah,
years ago, but
but
you know what I'm saying? But like,
that's like,
this has been an
women
evolution.
didn't have voting rights in 1929.
That's exactly
so I'm not
right.
saying
Do
it's
I-
perfect,
I-
Correct.
but it
Oh,
was definitely more
crap. I don't even
representative
have
for their
double-
constituent. And I'm saying we're in
I'm not even
2026.
enhanced
We can
when it
get to a
comes
better
to
place. And I don't know,
experience right
I don't
now.
see any leader actually trying
Crap.
to actually have a meaningful vote. They say go vote.
Yeah, I'm
But
gaining
what is that going to
experience
do
and
when
influence.
you're
I want
basically,
only
it's
experience.
almost like you're giving your consent
Damn
to
it.
this broken system.
Well,
So
whatever.
I would
who
actually
cares?
argue that
Right
your
now, I'll
voting
change
is
it
not
next
saying
time.
I'm consenting to the system. Your voting is saying I'm participating in making the system better.
Okay.
Because
if there's a candidate that wanted to fix it, then I
I
guess
know
I'd
I'm being
do
lazy
that, but
again.
I haven't
I'm
heard
being
anyone
lazy.
mention the 1929 Act of, you know what I mean? So
Perfect example. Just a couple weeks ago, You know, right before the Supreme Court took out the Voting Rights Act
Yeah.
and did what I consider to be the greatest form of political redlining that we have seen in our nation and probably in generations. The day before they did that, you know what I did in Maryland? I actually signed the Voting Rights Act of Maryland for 2026, which made sure that we were actually fortifying and certifying voting rights and enfranchisement for everybody inside of the state, no matter what the Supreme Court does, no matter how the Supreme
What does
Court
that mean exactly?
So basically, it's making sure that however the Supreme Court wants to try to disenfranchise and rig rules and rig lines, that in the state of Maryland, that we have an independent elections board.
Okay.
That the ruling of the independent elections board is what we are going to follow, and we're not going to follow the rulings of, to your point, a king or someone sitting in Washington.
Well, I would just, you know, again, I would say
Well, there's never
that
been a
with
king
the
in
poor
America.
representation, with this system that
Not
we're
even
already
Trump
in,
is king.
how does someone actually
Not
try
even
to get
Andrew
more
Jackson was
representation?
king.
Like we have a consensus every, or sorry, I can't pronounce it.
Census, yeah.
Census every 10 years, and that is usually when those kind of changes happen. And so that's coming up in 2030.
Come on.
I don't hear it. I see there's one movement called Uncap the House. I don't know if you've heard of it, but yeah, like I don't see much support coming in from people like yourself, like people in power.
But I would say so. I actually have called for saying we need national redistricting reform.
Okay.
And I think that the census is actually going to be the appropriate time to be able to do it, because right now there is a
What's going
system
on?
where you have politicians who are picking their voters,
Yes.
and not voters who are picking their politicians. But you know the only way that's going to happen is if we actually have a Congress who is going to get national redistricting reform done.
Right.
And the only way that's going to happen is if we actually choose to lean into the process. That will never happen if we then choose to opt out.
But how do
Choose to
actual
opt out.
candidates
Sorry, we got
solve
to
those
pause
problems?
there. You've been voted out.
No problem. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
If you'd like
These
to be
people
the
are very
next debater,
respectful.
please get to
This
the
is
chair.
not a
Three,
heated
two,
debate
one.
this time.
Oh, you're good. You're good. she wanted
There you
it.
go. Hi, Free.
Greg West. Nice
Nice
to
to
meet you.
meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, right, so I am a citizen now, born and brought up in England. I always used to vote Conservative. Came to the US. Never in my life, and I was born in 1981, has anyone ever told me that I'm less than because I'm a woman and a woman of colour. Never in my life. Moving to America, I was told, oh, you have to vote Democrat because, you know, this is what's happening. And yes, I was fully behind Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris at the last election. But then I got pissed off. 2 years they sat on the overturning of Roe and Wade when they had the White House. Is it really that difficult to have an independent health authority to make women's bodily rights a priority? Why does it have to be written into law? Because I thought that the US was the leader of the free world.
I love this question, and I tell you, and honestly, and I love your story too. I'm actually the
I
son.
probably should
And one of the things that I just love and appreciate about the just the
our
evolution
build
of this
with this
country
character.
is that this can be a place where stories like hers, yours, and mine can actually be real, right?
Right.
And I take the example where you're talking about for reproductive health as one great example. One of the other things that I love about the way the structure can actually work here is even when the federal government makes a decision that I think is ridiculous and really bad, that states actually do have authority too. Because right after Roe
Let's
v.
go.
Wade fell, and basically something that was the law of the land for decades.
This can't be the
but
end.
They then turned around
This
and
is
said,
the
well,
end. Then I
actually,
should
women
have.
do not
I
have
think
to choose
this
what happens with their
file
body.
thing.
After our election,
That's
and what
right.
I campaigned on, and what I got done in the first months after I was elected as governor, is I said, we're going to make sure that in Maryland, that does not stand. And actually, we made protection of reproductive health part of our state's constitution, so that no matter what the Supreme Court says, in the state of Maryland, women are actually going to be the ones actually in charge of what happens with their bodies. And that right is going to be protected inside of my state. And I don't care what the Supreme Court says on that.
So may I ask you a question?
Of course.
In Maryland, have you made it mandatory to have sex education to show that the disadvantages of what contraception do, like especially oral contraception? Because one of the reasons why the far right are opposing it is because there are children having organ failure because they're popping, you know, the morning after like Skittles because they're not educated enough.
And that's actually another great example where that's where I do think that elections do have consequences, because you know, for a lot of things when it comes to education, it is done on a local level, but we actually do have education for all of our kids about, you know, and also, by the way, looking at things like family planning. So while we also did things like making sure that reproductive health is now in our state's constitution, we also have family planning and family planning education that takes place for the people of our state. And so elections do matter in that account because we can both focus on the education for our young people, making sure they know the rights that they have, but also making sure those rights are then reinforced and that those rights are going to be protected no matter what happens on a federal side.
We got to pause there. You've been voted out.
Oh, okay.
Goes by fast.
Lovely to meet you too. Thank you so much.
Okay, if you'd like to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, how you doing? Bam.
I am blessed.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So we're talking about what shapes policy more effectively than my individual vote. I'd like to give you a list of things that I believe have a greater weight in terms of shaping policy. Big money in politics, corporate super PACs, billionaires, donors, special interest groups, lobbyists, the Fox propaganda network that rattles off 24-hour nonsense all day long, foreign interest groups like the Israelis and the Arab states, and the Citizens United ruling that flooded our entire system with more money than anyone can imagine. So when you talk about having greater weight in shaping policy, I believe that all of those policies are well shaped months and months and months ahead before any person in this room puts a ballot into a box. I'd love to hear your take.
So one, I could not agree with you more. I think Citizens United was maybe the worst decision that the Supreme Court does, and it needs to be overturned. I think that this role of big money and both the big corporations and also these billionaires, I think that their ability to now somehow think that their donation equates to voice is nonsense, and I think it has to be addressed. And I think that if you look at my story, the reason that I know that the individual vote does matter is because I look at my journey. Because this is the first elected office I ever ran for. I mean, there was no corporate interest who made me.
And that's very important.
Yeah,
That's
there
important.
was no PAC with me. In fact, the political parties, the Democratic Party, put millions of dollars trying to stop me when they saw that our campaign was gaining momentum, despite the fact that when I first started running, I was polling 1%. And I realized this though, y'all can put whatever money you can against what we're getting done. You could try to put whatever money you did against our movement, and they put millions of dollars against it. But you know who they couldn't stop? Who? The people of Maryland.
Right.
Because the people of Maryland were the ones who made me the governor. It was not a political party. It definitely was not a corporate interest. And it was definitely not a billionaire.
Did you work on small donor funding networks?
Absolutely. And
Community grassroots organizations.
And that was the thing that carried us, right? I mean, the thing that actually carried us more was that when we had people who were running against us, who did have all these billionaire interests or whatever like that, we ended up getting donations from literally every single county in our state. While people were averaging, donations of thousands, our average donation was like, $50, $60. And we ended up beating all of them. And you know what? All them special interests and all that kind of stuff, they are not going to have the final say. The people will have the final say. But what we had to do, we had to make sure we gave them something to vote for.
Right.
We had to make sure we gave them a reason to get out there. And so that's why, when I said in our first days, we're going to do things like raise the minimum wage, that we are going to do things like making sure we have paid family and medical leave.
Okay, but people are only going to believe you if they believe that your moral compass is pointing in the right direction.
That's right.
How do they know? Is if you're not on the take from these big money interests. Yeah. If you're saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, at the same time, these billionaires are lining your pockets with gold, ain't nobody going to believe squat, right? So in order for people to have faith in you, to trust you, you have to demonstrate, and when I say you, I'm talking all of the political candidates in the world, they all need to stipulate that, hey, I ain't taking money from nobody, I'm taking money from moms and pops and dads and small businesses, I'm not taking money from big corporations. Then and only then will people trust you. Then and only then will the people be energized to step out of their houses and break the disengagement, get out the vote, and put the ballot in the box.
And you know what?
Okay, so what that was my neighbor actually
that's what I was doing.
gave me
I
my
was doing
CO2
that.
tanks for my soda stream.
Props to you.
Right.
I don't drink soda with it anymore. I drink carbonated flavored water with Neo
That's when I
drops.
talked about things like we were going to actually make sure we're giving the middle class a tax cut and actually asking wealthy Marylanders to pay more, which we've done in our time. That if we said it, we actually meant it. And so I do think that when it comes to making sure that people are empowered, there is two things that we have to be able to do, and I'll paraphrase something that Dr. King said. You both have to protect the right to vote, and you have to give people something to vote for. And so I think the people who are going to be successful, they've got to be successful at both those things, but you are absolutely right. The issue and the challenge of big money in politics, it is disgusting.
It is.
And it's something that has to be addressed, because we cannot have a situation where you have an interest that somehow believes that they can write a check and it's equated as a voice or a vote. That's not the way it works.
The last
thing
thing-
that should work is the vote.
The last thing we want to see is a lobbyist walking into the governor's house, office, and saying, "Hey, Mr. Governor, boom, here's a piece of legislation that my think tank wrote for you guys. Take a look over this, and if you like it, put it on the House floor for a vote."
Okay, let's get that.
Get his
Let's get
staffers
that
to do a cursory
file
look,
X.
maybe trim a couple
Where's
of
your
things
file
around the
X?
edges.
Okay, it's right
Sometimes politicians
here.
don't even read the legislation that's handed to them.
It's
And
true.
they put it to the House floor for a vote,
Where are
and you
you?
press them on it.
There
I see
is.
reporters pressing these politicians about what's the contents of this bill. They don't even have a clue. They got
I'm
no
too lazy
idea.
to fly.
They're voting on it anyway.
just gonna do
Why?
this.
Because that same lobbyist lined their pockets with gold.
There we go.
And I do think it's important for anybody who wants to go to these seats.
Oh, there's
you
a
need to be very
baddie.
clear with people about
Kill
who
him.
you are and why you're doing this. You know, when I look at the level of corruption and the self-dealing that is taking place with some of these folks, that's exactly the kind of stuff that we wanted to address. It's what the reason the first executive order I signed when I became the governor was an anti-corruption executive order. That the people know my values. They know where I am on issues. They know what I want to do. They
Okay.
know who I'm gonna fight for.
Done.
They know when I say that we leave no one
Out.
behind. They know that means exactly that. We leave no one behind. And anybody who wants to be supportive, or anyone who wants to back us, or anyone who says they don't want to back us president, that's good. But my moral compass is not moving.
This
And
isn't
my
very
values-
strong.
All that is great.
I probably
That lip
could have
service is
more,
fantastic.
but
But the
whatever.
only way people are going to believe
It's
you
watermelon.
is if they know you're not taking money from the man. The minute you take that $50,000 check from
Which
Big
one do I
Pharma,
pick?
then the people's confidence in you goes out the window.
Consoles
That's
are
why I think
easy.
people
We gotta
see-
stop.
Consoles
We are
are
out of
very
time.
easy to sell the console.
Pleasure meeting you too. I could not agree with you more about this big mind.
Let's fly.
Hey babes, it's Paris Hilton. So I was checking my points balance in the Hilton Honors app the other day, and yeah, I've got about 1 billion, which feels excessive, even for me. Just kidding, you can never have too many Hilton Honors points. And I want to do something iconic this summer, so I'm giving away all my Paris points. Just find somewhere you've always wanted to stay, then go to my socials or Hilton's and tell me about it. Just make sure you're a Hilton Honors member, and I might be sending you Paris points, because when you want points that make your
That's
summer
actually
even
a
hotter,
billion
it
there.
matters where you
Really?
stay.
Not really. Okay.
Take your flexibility beyond the mat with PayPal. Pay nothing at checkout, then enjoy a flexible monthly payment plan that works for you with no sign-up or late fees. Find yours and
Let's
it's
do
easier
this.
to pay with PayPal. Download the PayPal app to get started. Subject to approval. Pay monthly consumer loans made by WebBank. Available through PayPal Inc. NMLS 910457. Learn more at paypal.com/paymonthly.
My next surrounding claim is bad politics thrive when you don't participate.
All right, if you'd like to be the first debater for this claim, please get to the chair in 3,
Bad
2,
politics.
1.
Don't participate.
Pleasure to see you.
Miss Lips.
Miss Lips, nice to see you.
Yes. I would like to talk about
Come on.
your beef against reparations. And just want to clear some things. In 1968, a comedian named Dick Gregory won the election for presidency against Nixon. And voting, everyone voted. I know a lot of my people in Chicago voted. That's where I'm from, South Side. And unfortunately, he did not win
Kill
against
the
Nixon.
console.
And it kind
Kill
of
them.
damaged a lot of my family in the voting because they was very dedicated to voting. They knew their rights in
This is
voting.
a lot more exciting when you're in
Mhm.
groups, but
And
I don't
more
want to be in a
politics
group
would
right
come
now.
with
Well, besides,
Um,
this is technically a group. I mean,
With Nixon
all these
came
pets
with
are
crack,
a group, but
cocaine, heroin, and many other things that hurt our community. I'm sorry. One of those things, I lost so many people through that. And I think that
oh yeah, I forgot to get the experience increase.
and
Damn it.
I felt that it hurt
I don't like
generations
hair that
coming
much.
until now.
I don't
Lost
know.
my mother.
They seem to increase
Drug addiction and
influence
lost
so
my
high.
ex to drug
Not
addiction.
influence, experience. They've increased
what
the
is your
experience so
take
high
on
that I don't
making
even
sure
really
that our
need
vote
the
will count in
the
that
double experience
crushing
buff.
votes
I really don't.
or acknowledged?
First I'm very sorry. If there's one thing I know about the history of this country, is the history of this country has been deeply uneven and deeply unfair for families like yours, for families like
Probably
mine.
should just play as my camper instead. This is
And to your
boring.
point, there's no one who needs to remind any of us that there
Or
are
making our
answers
build
to this
for this
question that
character.
this country has still not answered. I also know this, and this is why policy does matter, is we come from a history and a legacy when oppression and segregation and institutionalized racism
Yeah, like
wasn't
60
just
years
condoned,
ago.
it was the law of the land.
60 years ago.
That we are literally a century ago when we had Klansmen openly walking through the streets, being welcomed into the White House,
Yes.
when we had people being lynched and people who were just simply trying to get the right to vote who had to stare down police dogs,
And this is why I
fire
believe
hoses.
reparations will help. It will actually, because there's no justice today. We could not lock those claimants up. We cannot go back and change the past. But what we can do, we could open up a trust for those families that was taken away. And slavery
Come
happened.
on.
It did happen. And there are studies. I know you said something about studies, but I have an Ancestry.com study. Why can't we use that?
Yeah.
Why can't we use 21andMe for that study? That's a study. Our DNA is coded. It's in every EMR record. There shouldn't be no problems.
Yeah, and
Why are
like
we
those
not
studies say
getting
you're
The-
81%
and
European.
my
Like, what
issue
does that even
with,
mean?
with
You're
this study
81% European.
is
How do
we
they
have
know
done
that?
a lot of studies. I need action. And I oftentimes feel what ends up happening when it comes to policy is when there's things that we don't want to tackle, what
Yes,
do we
there
do?
is. Come
We
on.
do
They're gonna-
long-term
they're gonna kill
studies.
me if I keep-
If someone
I
is
gotta be
telling me
careful.
right now that my child is attending a school that is not preparing them for the world, I do not want to hear you tell me, then that's why I'm going to do a 10-year commission on it. I do not want to hear you tell me, if I say I cannot find housing that I can afford, I don't want to hear somebody tell me that's why I'm going to do a 5-year study.
So why should
And-
we vote if we can't get our reparations?
Oh no, but I think the thing that's actually going to help us
Okay.
to be able to get to the work of repair actually is voting. Because you know why we have not gotten to this work
There
of
we
repair long term and not just individual states, as a nation,
Right.
is because we have
If
elected
those
officials who
robots
don't want us to do
couldn't
that.
make the
And so when I'm
enemies
talking
knock
about
down,
the work of repair, that
I would
that
be in
urgently
big
needs to
trouble.
happen. For example, the
I
stuff
would
that
be
we have
in
done
big
in our state, where
fucking
we have made
trouble.
the largest investments in our HBCUs in the history of the state of Maryland. The fact that we have done things like the largest mass pardon in the history of the United States of America. And let's be clear about who that most directly impacted, because the war on drugs and the war on cannabis has been used as a cudgel against our community. And so let's be clear about who that most benefited.
I understand.
But what I'm saying is that the people who are making that decision, particularly on the federal level, these are people who were elected. And so if they are either moving or not moving, how do we think that we're going to be able to get more momentum? The way we get more momentum, and the way you address
once I
that
get to
policies
level 50
is you
on this
get
character,
people,
I will
different
do
people in those
builds.
seats
I will.
who can better address those policies. The
I will
history of
endgame
this
this
country
character.
and the brutality that we have seen within it, it is real, and it is something
Eventually.
that has to be contended with.
And
But my
I do
point is
I
this,
tend to make
is
this
that we
character
will never
level
be able
50.
to contend with that if we continue to disengage. Because do you know who does not want us to disengage? Our ancestors. Do you know who does
They're
not want us to
dead.
disengage? The
Our
people who
ancestors
came
are
before us.
dead.
Do you know what they want us to do? They want us to use our voice. They want us never to lose the power that they fought for. They were the ones who earned that. They were the ones who stared down police dogs, not us.
Yes.
And how disrespectful would it be to them to turn around and say, well, we understand how hard you had to sacrifice. We understand the fact that we have things like unfair appraisal values, which led to the greatest wealth thefts that we've seen in our society's history. But you know what? Do you know how I'm going to respond to that? I'm just going to disengage. What are we saying to them if that's our response?
So why did you
Sorry,
veto
I
it?
have to jump in there. You've been voted out.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You too, Ms. Webb. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, if you would like to be the next debater, please get to
Medication
the
time.
chair in 3,
Not to
2,
medication or not.
1.
I know.
This is a reminder. Take evening medication.
First reflection.
This is a reminder. Take evening medication.
You look really good. You're talking really
Not right
amazingly.
now.
You're doing amazing.
I will though.
Just aim for what you got.
This
I
is
can
a
do this
reminder.
without it.
Now
Take evening medication.
I
Oh
don't wanna
hell,
disregard any
hell,
of that
don't
work.
die, hell.
And the people that
Don't
came
die.
before you would be very proud of what
Ooh,
you
this
did.
is getting tough.
I just want
Don't
to
die.
highlight something that you said
Don't
that sort of
die.
triggered me. You said a
Come
few
on, don't
things,
die.
but I think the biggest
Don't
one is that
die.
our ancestors
Come on,
would
don't
be
die.
very disappointed if we chose not to vote.
Don't
and
die.
I think that
Don't die.
that's a little disingenuous.
Oh shit.
Because think about 1791 in August, the Haitian Revolution. What happened?
They're actually doing pretty
They
good.
literally
yes.
congregated and said, we are going to burn the houses and cut every slave master's head. Think about Black Wall Street. What happened during Black Wall Street? We literally united and said, hey, look at us. We can build our own system. We can make our own thing. We don't have to be part of the wicked system that is America, because what was America founded on? Rotten soil, on the heads of
I wanna
multiple
die.
millions of indigenous
I am
people.
going to die.
No,
Shit.
listen, I appreciate that.
No.
No,
No, I don't want to die.
Like,
This is
the
correlation. This is
between Malcolm
doable, I
X and Martin
think.
Luther King. There
Why
was
is this so
there's a section where they
difficult
both
now?
realized that the
What is
system
wrong?
was too wicked for them to actually repair it. You know, unfortunately,
God, I wanna
Martin Luther
die.
King Byron said we have
And
lobbyists.
this doesn't seem like
We
it's
have-
that
we have
difficult.
people. There's a 2014 study
Why am
that
I
was
about
done
to
by
die?
Benjamin Price and Martin Giles. They discovered that the average American actually has no direct say in public policy. What does that translate to? That literally means that every single vote does not matter at all because the money does not flow to their pockets, but the pockets of the oligarch. That is something that we actually have to highlight. And because you are now the oligarch, you're the man in power, brother. You don't see me. And you represent also a small minority of the country.
Level up.
Because the people that actually need to be heard do not reside in Maryland. They do
With
not
great
reside in
risk
that northeast area where
equals
everything's
great
blue, where my
rewards.
vote, even if I wrote red,
That's
it's
a
gonna
big
be
risk.
blue.
That's a big reward.
You know, they reside in the South, they reside in Alabama, they reside in Selma. I think it's disingenuous for us not to highlight that point, and that's my speech. I'm sorry for having so much energy.
No, look, listen, and not only do I appreciate your energy, I honor it. No, honor it
Yes.
because I know it's real, and I know it's justified, and I look at what's happening right now.
What is happening right now? Put words to it.
I look at the fact that when they passed that,
Hey, we need words.
when Congress passed that HR 1, that big beautiful bill,
That's beautiful. Okay.
which passed by one vote.
Under whose presidency?
Under
I don't know if the little 40 part gives you a new ability or not. If it gives you a new ability, I have no idea what I'm going to pick up.
When it comes
I
to
don't. I have
politicians,
no clue
not to cut you off,
what
I'm
I want to get.
don't forget,
I get.
please.
little-
I
if get
oftentimes
an
see
ability.
politicians sort of weaseling their ways outside of what the proletariat wants to hear. You know, so I want to really make sure you put words.
So I would actually say that even that framing is saying that this should be put on a person, and actually I don't think that's the case. I think that's making it too easy.
What do you mean?
Because when you look at what happened even with that on individual bill, right? Do you know at the same time that we were giving billionaires tax cuts, that we cut people off of healthcare?
Ooh.
The same time that we were giving tax cuts to people who have private jets, they cut food for our children.
But that's wonderful.
But I do think this is an important point. Right?
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you land.
No, but this is an important point because that happened.
Okay,
because
where's
of
this
elections.
virus thing?
I disagree.
That happened
Right there.
because the
Right
people
there.
who were sitting in these seats,
No.
they decided
So
this was
was it an
effective.
election vote that made it so that Obama was bombing and droning everybody in the Middle East? Was that an election point? Were we not supposed to vote for Obama, the first black president, brother?
What is
Because
my
he bombed,
what is
you know,
my
he bombed everyone in the Middle East?
Well, first, I don't think we should be voting
3
for anybody
plus 0,
because
okay.
of how they look
Ooh,
or
this is
their background.
difficult.
The question is, do they have our interests
I mean,
in mind?
did Obama have our interest in mind?
Well, one, I think if you look at a lot of things that happened under the Obama administration,
Did George Bush have our interest in mind?
Let's make sure
these
let
elections.
the governor finish.
Yeah, no, but it's okay. But these elections and who sits in these seats doesn't matter because whether we choose to engage or not engage, here's what's going to happen every 2 years. These people in Congress are up for a vote. What's going to happen every 4 years is you're going to have governors and you're going to have the president up for a vote. What's going to happen every 6 years is you're going to have senators up for a vote, whether we engage or don't engage, right? These elections are going to happen.
I agree.
And they are going to make decisions on our behalf in our name with our money. And we want to make sure that the decisions that they are making are actually reflective of our values.
I'm not even attacking you.
Right? So, are you familiar with the scandal that happened in San Francisco?
I'm not.
Well, basically,
That would be really funny.
I have their names just on my
I had this idea
Tina
pop
Lamb and
into
Michael
mind.
Clerks, first
What
generation
if there
leaders,
was
basically built their way
a
up to
Charlie
$90,000
Manson
to purchase a
mastermind
in a rich neighborhood,
and
it was called
his followers
the Presidio
were the
Terrace.
minions?
And essentially, what we
It'd be
found
insane.
out
They'd be fucking insane.
the residents of Presidio
Of course,
Terrace
if he did that,
basically
he
reached out to
probably
the
would
US
get banned.
And the U.S. senator went to the board.
I don't think you could do that
Hey, you
and
guys
not be
invested
banned.
$90,000 to buy this land
But-
legally. They had the contracts, they had the paperwork, and what happened? The supervisor and the board they literally heard the U.S. senator, and they basically were like, hey, you cannot have this property anymore. You cannot be here anymore. They forced them, they refunded them the $9,000 that they used to basically, they brick and mortared themselves to get, essentially. And so my point is, I don't necessarily think it's a matter of us really looking to get people in power when we know that their pockets are going to always be lined up. You serve your own interest and your family's interest before mine, unfortunately. And I hate to say, like, that sounds a little radical, and I don't mean to come at your character if that's not your character. But that's what it is. If you can't eat anymore, can you serve?
It's not my character.
I understand, but if you can't,
and I'll just say this: let me just share with you about my character and how I do that.
Okay.
Do you know the first thing that I did when?
No, I'm not gonna die.
Was that
No,
not only did I
no,
start anti-corruption
no.
board, the first
I
person
don't
to
want to
do
die.
Also, what I
Shit.
did for everything.
This is
all
way.
of
This
my
is
family's
more difficult than I
assets,
thought it would be.
everything that we have. I
Why
also
are
did
they
it
attacking me when I'm not attacking
because
them?
I never wanted anyone in the state of Maryland do everything
Ah.
that I was doing anything that was benefiting me. And not only did I do that, I signed legislation
Oh my God.
that says if anyone ever wants to be governor of Maryland from here on out, they have to do the same thing. Because we need to make sure there's transparency and we need to make sure that people know that the
is this
decisions
all
that are being
from?
made by people in my seat from here on out, that no one
Where's your
ever
cookie?
questions the decisions that are being made. And you know why too? Especially right now, when we have a Congress that
That'll
is
be
trading
fine,
stocks. Despite having insider information, when
There
we have
we
a
go.
president of the United States who, in the first quarter of this year alone, has now done over 3,700 stock trades. That averages out to about 600 stock trades a single day. Are you the president or are you a day trader? Like when we were watching that, when we were watching a president who has made
One
billions
last
of
guy
dollars,
and we're done.
when we were watching
Yep.
someone who is literally starting wars.
I don't support Trump at all, brothers. So
But my point is this: is that our ability to be able to deal with that, our ability to be able to address that. When I look in the state of Maryland, had
Okay,
that
we're
election
good.
happened, do you think that we would have legislation in Maryland that says for every governor from here on out they need to put their assets in a blind trust? Have we not had elections not mattered in the state of Maryland, would we have a situation where now in Maryland I have banned prediction trading for anyone who works for the state of Maryland? Because no, you cannot do prediction market trading when you're dealing with insider information. And I just feel like for the instance you mentioned, which, and again, I did not know about this incident, but my question back to you is
No,
that
San Francisco, that's a majority Democratic state.
and that's real.
And it's
Yeah, I'm sorry, we got to pause there.
oh, bro.
I know the rules.
Because like some initiatives we're trying to work on.
And I would love to
Fred
talk about
Hampton's
that.
a big deal, brother.
Fred Hampton's a very big.
I
Fred
think,
Hampton is a very
and
big.
I really appreciate the fact that you started off by
Your
saying
power,
that you were
okay.
making
What do I do?
Oh
What
my
the hell do I
goodness.
do? These three I cannot do.
I will.
I cannot do these three.
And I'll say
Because if I do, then
and I know
I
it's probably against
change
rules,
the-
but my ask
what
to
I
you back
my
is,
character
for
does.
everything you mentioned, would it be better if
I
we chose
do.
to disengage?
I have
Is that
every
Fred Hampton just
leadership
So did
already.
Malcolm X. Arguably, he did it because he had electoral promotions, which he
100%, and I would talk to you about
Which was
that.
a free breakfast.
And I would talk to you about that. And I would talk to you about that. And I would talk to you about that. Because I would actually push you on that on Fred Hampton, though. But we should talk. We should talk. We should talk. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
From athletic stuff like a full court pickup game, swish, to athletic-ish stuff like a half-mile stroll. Get those steps in. Head to Sierra or Sierra.com for the brands you want at the prices that let you do it all. From athletic to athletic-ish, Sierra's got it.
Now at Pick and Save, your points add up to more ways to save every trip. Use them your way to take dollars off groceries at checkout or save at the pump. You can save up to $2 per gallon. Same points, more choices. And with low prices on fresh, quality food, plus digital and personalized offers tailored to how you shop, your dollar goes further. Redeem your points online or in the app. Pick and Save. Fresh for everyone.
I don't know
Restrictions
what to
apply.
do.
See site or store for details.
I don't know.
Final surrounding claim is not voting doesn't protest corruption. It protects it.
All right. If you'd like to debate this claim, please get to the center in 3, 2, 1.
How you doing?
How you doing? Wes, nice to meet you, Connor.
Yes, sir. If that's the case, if not voting leads to the corruption, how do you explain the corruption despite so much voting?
Well, I think if you do not vote and you do not get the right people in place, then you don't have the checks on the corruption, because I think elections actually do matter. I mean, I look at it in the case of our own state, right, where we had people, I had predecessors who were literally deciding transportation lines and then buying real estate near the transportation lines. That we have a president right now who is spending his time literally investing in stocks and lifting companies up, and then them getting DoD contracts like what we just saw with Dell. And so the thing is, elections do matter because the people who are sitting in the seats can actually control it. You know, what happened, if you look at what happened in Maryland, I've actually taken on these utility companies, and we have capped compensation for these utility executives. Elections matter. When
This
we turn
might
in
actually
Maryland
help me
from a red state to
as
a
a
blue state,
mastermind.
and we have now a chief executive who says
But these
we're not going to
wouldn't.
tolerate
Only
that in Maryland.
this
We
one
now,
and this
if you're looking
one
at
would
how
help me.
supermarkets and these large-scale chains are actually doing
Maybe
price
this one
manipulation
would
and
help.
hosing people based on the data they have on their cell phones and adjusting prices because they're actually using your data against it. Well, Maryland became the first state in the country that has banned that now. Elections have consequences.
For sure. There's no shortage of corruption, but earlier you mentioned Dr. King. What I didn't hear you mention is economic withdrawal. Are you familiar with his, in your opinion, what do you think got Martin Luther King killed, ultimately?
Well, man, I can't speak to what got Dr. King killed.
Well, you're
but I
familiar with
know-
his last speech in 1968.
I 100% am. And I also know that economic withdrawal and economic financing, it actually does matter in terms of the decisions that we're making. That yes, we have to make sure that we are putting the right elected officials in place, but we also have to make sure we understand the value of our
I've
dollar.
never had this
That
power
when,
before
for example,
with any
when
other
we were
career
watching
choice,
Voting
so I have
Rights
no
Act,
idea what I'm doing.
when we're watching representation, black representation in southern states that is being pulled and people being disenfranchised right before our eyes, my question is this: why is anyone having a conference in Louisiana? Why is anyone deciding to have their business in Florida? Why is anyone allowing that to take place in these individual states? So
And you would agree that if they were to just explore that, that'd be more powerful than voting?
I don't think it would be more powerful. I think these things all are tools.
I think I
but
need
still it
duration
fundamentally
and
comes back to
accuracy
the idea of
eventually.
voting. And you know why?
Eventually.
Why would we have a conversation about economic disenfranchisement and why we have a conversation about economic
Eventually.
uplift? The reason is because you have leaders in states right now who are choosing to
Probably
disenfranchise
accuracy
people.
first,
People are
though.
put there by voters.
Okay, let's see
That's
why.
where voting rights matters. Again, if people did not think voting rights didn't matter, why are they so hell-bent in trying to take it away from us?
Political theater.
I think it's bigger than political theater. I think it's political. I think it's true societal voice. They do not want us to have societal voice, and so I think economic pressure does matter. But I think economic pressure is also going to matter when we can actually use our political power to get people
So
in these
when
seats.
did it matter to where it counted, to where people felt like, wow, my vote's working for me?
I think
to where the 20 of us in this room wouldn't even be here because we've been voting for years, our parents have been voting, grandparents, and we feel like, wow, this works. We get what we're looking for.
I
represented adequately. Clearly it's not working.
Well-
We've been voting and voting and voting.
Yeah.
We're both black men here.
Yeah.
I'm from Virginia, Maryland, not too far.
Do
What
we
are we
think?
getting?
Do we think that the election in Maryland in 2022 didn't matter?
I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all. I'm not saying there's no utility to your vote whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's certainly not. There's certainly other avenues more powerful, like economic withdrawal, like I talked about.
Yeah.
So,
But what I'm saying is that before 2022, we had a situation where we were watching violent crime absolutely terrorize our state. You know, you're from the DMV.
and voting does what about that?
Well, let me tell you what voting does. For example, in 2022, Baltimore City was averaging about a homicide a day. That for the 7 years before I became the governor, we saw how the homicides rate in the state of Maryland nearly doubled. The non-fatal shooting rate did double. And you know what we got from our leaders before that? Thoughts and prayers. Do you know what we got from that? Some beautiful eulogies. While we continue to allow bloodshed take place in our neighborhoods. And so in 2022, when we came on board, you know what we did? We actually started working with the mayor. We actually started working with community violence intervention groups. We made record funding to them. We actually started working with local law enforcement to make sure that they can move with appropriate intensity and absolute integrity and full accountability. We actually worked
I
together
gotta go back to the
collectively
vendor
to be able to address the problem. Do you know what's happened since 2022?
I don't want to have
The
to
violent crime
do
rate in the
this
state of
twice as
Maryland is
long.
down nearly 50%. It is the fastest drop anywhere
I'm
in the
pretty
United
sure I
States
know
of
how to
America.
play this
In
character,
Baltimore
although I've
City, the
never
last time the
done
homicide rate was this low, I was not born.
presence
You
powers
cannot tell me.
before.
You attribute that
I'll try it
to the
though.
2022 election.
It's gonna.
Elections matter,
I know
because
Pacify
what was
will help me.
happening
I know
before-
that will help me.
What was happening before was bloodshed.
But everything
What was
else
happening
besides
before
Berlin
was
maybe
bloodshed.
invoke
I get
fear, but
Maryland.
I
We
can't.
have more. Of course, we have more.
I can't
across
get
the
it without
country,
having two
voting does
abilities
not stop
first.
violence.
No, but I understand. But
Leggy.
leadership
Come on,
does.
stop being so leggy.
Leadership does, and that's why these elections do matter. Who
Why?
is making the decisions, and are they making the decisions?
When you say leadership, you're referring to politicians
No,
who need to be who rely on votes, who essentially will say anything to get your vote.
I'm talking about anybody who's willing to work with everybody. Do you know why we've had such a drastic drop in violent crime within the state of Maryland? It wasn't because of just politicians. It was because we chose to work with everybody. It's because we chose to work with community groups. It's because we chose to actually work with our local elected officials. It's because we chose to work with our local law enforcement. It's because we chose to work with the elders and the communities and the businesses. It's because we've chosen to do things like the largest mass pardon.
So what I hear,
Yeah,
a lot
we're
of
gonna
that is
stop there. You've been voted out by the majority.
okay, great talking to you.
All right, if you'd like to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
There we go.
Nice to meet you, Ed. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
A little bit
So-
leggy, but whatever.
You say that not voting, it doesn't protect it, but
Protects corruption.
it
I
protects
believe
corruption.
I
I
get
think
in our
voting
power
is
at
corruption.
47
You go to
and
the ballots
49.
and you see names, and all you see is Democrat, Republican.
So 2 more powers.
There's nothing else you can vote for. You're either red or blue, and it feels like if my policies don't match with one or the other, my vote's not going to count. It doesn't matter, and I don't understand how I can be a part of a system that's corrupt.
No, listen, and I've been very much on the record on this, where, you know, if you look at the fastest growing political party in this country, you know what it is? Independence.
Yeah.
It's people who are saying, I don't rock with the Democrats, I don't rock with the Republicans, and I'm being very honest, I think anybody who just swallows a party ideology is not thinking hard enough. Because I don't think there's a party that has the market cornered on good ideas or a market cornered on bad ideas. I think about the
I
policies
just
that
bought
have
this
truly
keyboard
harmed
too.
families
Why
like
isn't
mine.
this keyboard
And the
working
truth is, for many
correctly?
members of my family, they could not tell you if it was a Democratic author or a Republican author. They could just tell you it was a bad policy. So I do think that there has to be a better way and a better system that we have constructed to be able to actually make sure independent voice is seen, and not just in November, because the problem is that less than 10% of these congressional seats are even competitive. And if you look at some of the races that actually work, they're actually races like mayor's races, which are nonpartisan races, where people aren't running as a Democrat or Republican. Now, that being said, I still think when people are having these national elections or these statewide elections, it does matter who sits inside these seats. And not because they're a Democrat or a Republican. I don't give a damn about, frankly, the political party, the political infrastructure.
I've never
because,
used
again,
Pacify,
the
so I
Democratic Party, they
really
make
want to try it right now.
and so I don't find some reason or some blinding ideas saying like
Let's do
everything
this
that the
first.
Democrats do is right. I don't believe
Let's
that.
just make sure
But what
I
I
have
do know
this
is this,
and
is
this.
that the people who sit in these seats, it matters because it's going to impact my life. It's going to impact my family.
sure again.
It's going to impact my community. And I want to make sure that those
All right,
people,
let's see.
no matter their
Let's
political
see.
party, I want to make sure those
Okay.
people, at the end of the day, when those
And
doors are
then
closed, that they
let's
see me.
go.
And they're making decisions based on what is right for me and my family and not what is right for them and their family.
But
Minute
really enough people
cooldown
are
to
voting
that
for these
ability?
other politicians that they do
An
agree, like it's
ability
50-50
that's
almost,
such a
seems like, or
fucking
like it
nothing?
tips the scale a little bit, and that's why we keep going back and forth
What a
from like we
waste.
revoke a policy, we make a new
There's
policy
a
like every
minute
year it's something
cooldown
different,
for
and I feel
Pacify.
like how are we going to get to that position then where
What does it
we're
even
actually voting for
do
policies
that
versus
makes
people,
it
because
worth
I don't
it?
vote for people
A
anymore. I want to actually
60
change
versus
that's what
60
protests do. Versus
second
when I'm on a
cooldown.
ballot, a paper,
What the
I'm just on
fuck?
someone's desk as a number versus I'm on the streets and I'm a real number making a real change.
And real talk, that's exactly what I want too. I don't want someone to vote for me because I have a Democrat next to my name. I want someone to vote for me because they feel like my values match
I wanna
theirs,
ask.
and because I see their family, and I want
Why
to vote on behalf of their family. I think about
probably
one of the
should
people
put
when I
this in
announced I was
all.
running for re-election. The very first visit that I made when I was governor was actually out to a place called Lonacoin, which is out in Western Maryland. and they were having a water crisis. So they had a boil water advisory. So I'm on the phone with their mayor, and we're talking, and I said, you know, Mr. Mayor, I'm on my way. When I first met him, Mayor Coburn has become a good friend. He shook my hand and he said, do me a favor. He said, turn 360 degrees. So I turned 360 degrees, and he looked at me and he said, the only guarantee I can give you is you didn't see a Democrat within 5 miles of anywhere you just looked. But he said, but you know what? You're the first governor that's been here since 1996. And do you know when I first announced that I was running for re-election? Do you know one of the first people that announced that he was going to support me for my re-election was lifelong Republican Mayor Coburn of the town of Monaco. I'm not asking people to see me because I'm a Democrat. I'm asking people to see me because I'm going to fight for you. And as long as you're a Marylander, you're good with me. And that's all I need to know.
All right, we got to stop there. You can vote it out.
No.
We'll see. Thank you so much.
No.
All right, if you'd like to
No,
be the
I'm
next
not gonna
debater,
die.
please get to the chair in
I
3,
got passed by
2,
some of these guys.
1.
How you doing?
What's up, man?
Sergio.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. You have been going, and I don't mean this in an offensive way, but you've been going on and on about your accomplishments in Maryland, about how you've reduced the crime rate by 50%, about how you've gone and done all of these accomplishments in Maryland. But the problem is there are 49 other states in the U.S. Sorry, I'm out of breath from running here.
That's all good. You sprinted hard. That was pretty good, man. You sprinted hard. That was good. Take your time. You good, man.
Okay. In Texas right now, there's water wars going on because there's droughts. In Utah, famously, there's being a data center being built against everybody's wishes in Salt Lake City. In California, oh my God. So get me started in California, there's a growing homelessness problem that hasn't been addressed in decades. In fact, it's one of the well-known things about here is that there's a lot of homeless program corruption, people taking advantage of the system constantly. So sure, if I were in Maryland, I would probably vote for you. But the problem is that because we live in a system where we live in different states where there's so much corruption, it doesn't give me an incentive to vote. Plus, I grew up in a family where we would always choose the lesser of two evils. It's been that way since my dad was young, since my mom was young, since my uncles were young. But the problem with choosing the lesser of two evils every single time is that the other person that you vote for is still evil. And if you do that every single election,
stealth would have been a better option.
And it's what we see in this administration.
I should have thought stealth.
The administration
This was a waste.
So why should I be incentivized to vote if I know for a fact that nobody is going to live up to the expectations that they will change when nothing happens?
I wasted. I should have done stealth.
Because honestly, that has been the history.
Stealth would have been a better ability.
We're asked to choose between who's going to hurt us less.
Yeah,
you know what?
I'm completely with you on that.
Fuck it.
It's part of the reason I chose to run in the first place.
Okay.
Where, again, I don't come from this background.
Okay.
Right.
I don't.
And the funny thing is I want everything else to be the same. I just realized I should not have gotten.
To be able to
stealth would basically be
placate,
like, but for every
to do it different, then let's do it.
But for every
and I feel like we've held true to our word to the people of our state. And so I can't speak to other states because I represent my people and I represent the state.
It's not worth it just to get a self-res. It's not.
In the best way that I know how, as transparently I know how.
I would like a self-res, but it wouldn't help that much. I mean, when I die, all my robots shut down, so it's not that big of a deal anyway.
Okay. Because every single year, you're going to have budgets that are either going to affect you or not. Every year, laws we pass that are either going to help you or not. And so if we just disengage in that process, not only are we not helping ourselves, we're not helping our families, we're not helping our neighbors, bad things will happen, and then we cannot just scratch our heads and wonder why.
Bad things have been happening since the beginning, though. Bad things have been happening since before we were even able, before even I was allowed to vote. You know? Again, you're the exception. But in something as big as, like, our federal government, in something as big as Congress, the Supreme Court, nothing has changed.
Can I ask this one question though?
Yes.
After what has happened over the past year and a half, do you think that whoever won in 2024 that it didn't matter?
Leadership is very important.
Could you repeat the question, please?
After everything we've seen in the past year and a half,
very, very
when
important.
we've watched ICE go from an agency that had $10 billion of funding to now being an agency that's $85 billion in funding. That the fact that ICE right now is bigger than the FBI. ICE is
Always
bigger than
always get
ICE is bigger than the
main
DEA.
abilities
ICE
first
has a
if
budget
you
bigger
can.
than the state of Maryland.
Always get main abilities
Right?
first.
After watching the President of the United States make billions of dollars for himself,
right,
while robbing billions of
And then
dollars away from
let's go
us and
with-
our families when it comes to
let's go with
supports.
stealth.
Do you think that the 2024
Stealth.
election
Concealment.
and the results of it did not matter?
Yeah, there's different ones. Let me read this.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. No, I don't believe so.
I disagree. I think this has been horrific.
Okay, we gotta stop there. You've been voted out.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Good job. You got it in there. If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Felicia, I'm Wes.
Wes, nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure. I'm Felicia. So nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Wes, my concern is more so with the identity of politics, with voting. A lot of people, and based off my own experience, have utilized voting, utilized politics as their identity. And this goes into the corruption aspect, right? I mean, look what just happened with, I don't know if this is appropriate to share, but with Charlie Kirk, right? And it's unfortunate, it's really sad. I didn't even vote. I haven't voted since Obama. But this is continuing within the people making voting their identity and the influence within it, within how it's not just influencing people within voting, but it's influencing people in the celebrity world and just the influencer world.
Yeah.
Me being an influencer and an artist, you know, I'm afraid to share just why I, you know, might be interested in voting for this person or that person, because I may be targeted just because I want to place a vote for a certain politician. So what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you on the idea that, unfortunately for a lot of people, politics has become an identity. Right? Like, I think about how I identify, like I'm the son of Joy and William. I'm the husband of Dawn. I'm the father of Mia and James. I'm a child of God. Like, I think about things that I identify myself as, and at some point I'll get to, oh yeah, and I'm a Democrat.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who they have the whole thing twisted.
I'm gonna look up
They look
the
at
difference
themselves as a
between
political
stealth
party
and
or a political
infiltration.
identification almost before anything else. I do think there is a poison in that, where it almost has become very tribal.
Yes.
But I don't think that the idea of identifying yourself with voting is the problem. I think identifying yourself with the tribal party line is the problem. Voting is actually the way I think you help to address it.
I disagree.
Okay.
And I disagree because it's like, okay, I'm putting in a vote, but that doesn't necessarily matter. It's going into a ballot, yes, and it might go towards the person that I actually want. But again, it doesn't, you know, change the fact that there's people out there still, you know, initially saying that, oh, you voted for this person, I'm going to target you. I've had friends, I've had myself. I grew up in Wyoming for a little bit, and literally I was the only person in my class, in my school pretty much, that wanted to vote for Obama. Everybody else wanted to vote for Trump. And if I mentioned that, it didn't become like a targeted at me and just who I was, but it went into the religious aspect of our faith as well too. And it's unfortunate, yes, but it's like, how can you address that? How can you change that? By, you know, within the vote, by addressing the people all around and telling people, hey, yes, I'm a Democrat. I voted for this person. I'm doing this to make an impact and change, but this is not my identity, right?
Yeah. Well, I'd say, you know, the part of the beauty of voting, voting is a private endeavor, right? You know, you go into a ballot box, you don't have to say who you vote. Like when they give you that sticker after you vote, it doesn't say I voted for. It just says I voted.
Well, and I agree.
And so I think there's a beauty in the privacy of it, in the way that voting works, that we can have free and fair and private elections, that people can choose their voice. But I do think that while this allegiance to a political ideology is dangerous, I think the commitment to the people is what I think is important. And I think the commitment to the people does matter in terms of who's actually sitting in these seats. Because if we're putting people in these seats, and again, I don't care about the political affiliation. I could care, if a person goes out and votes for whoever, I could care less, but I'm like, but go make your voice heard.
Right, and
Okay,
that's
we're gonna
what
stop
you're saying.
there. You've been voted out. We're gonna try and get one more in.
No.
You were great. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much. All right, we got a little bit of time left on the clock. If you want to be the next debater, please.
Okay, I think I'm going to do
3,
stealth,
2,
grant
1.
invisibility, and space shift.
How you doing?
I don't think infiltration would be good for me.
What's your name?
See.
Wes.
Nice to meet you, Wes. Nice to meet you, Wes.
Nice to meet you.
I don't need like a.
I'm not
I don't
worried.
need a travel
I know it's a
power.
pretty bold statement, but for me, it just means I participate a little bit differently.
Okay.
So to give you a little background, I'm a former foster kid, okay? And at 18, I was given a bag and told, you're an adult now, figure it out, go do it on your own. I don't have family. So what I did is I was actually a part of a organization called the California Youth Connection in the Riverside chapter. And we passed a bill called AB 12 that allowed former foster kids to get financial aid after the age of 18. And because of that, I was one of the first 8 kids to be approved for that. And because of that, I was able to get my first business, I was able to save up for my house, I was able to be the person that I am here today. And not only that, it still continues to this day. What I was a part of is still helping former foster kids put food on their table, get housing, get schools, and it's a beautiful thing to where what I do now is I focus on local impact. I'm really big on former foster youth and foster care, so I work with not only former foster youth, but current foster youth. So my thing is it's not Democrat, it's not Republican, it is humanitarian, and I choose to put my energy in towards local impact.
So first of all, yes, and I have so much respect for you and your journey. We've actually done a lot of work in past legislation since I've been governor of Maryland about aging out and for kids in the foster care system. And first, let me just say, I admire you and your strength more than you know. Because your journey, no one will ever fully appreciate the challenge of your journey. And the fact that you're here right now, and the fact that we're having this discussion, says so much about who you are and says so much about your mettle. So respect.
Thank you, but it's not about me. It's about us.
No, that's right. It's about all of us, right? Now, the thing that, so what were we saying? It was AB, what was
AB
it?
12.
AB 12?
AB 12, yeah.
Was that policy?
No, it was a bill passed in the state of California right now. So right now, it's small. When I was 18, it got passed. I'm 33 now. So it works as like a advocate or a idea.
Yeah.
So it can possibly be federal right now.
Who passed that bill?
It was the state of California.
The state, so it was legislators.
Legislators, but we advocated for it. And if not, there are still programs right now that help advocate for foster youth. That's just one of many.
Had they not passed it, what would have been your story?
I would have been different. I mean, kids at age 18, for women, they get passed out to pimps. For men, they have to do ungodly things. I don't have family, so at this point, it would have been going out to the street and house.
So they changed the policy.
Of course.
They changed the policy that helped to save your life.
Yes.
Policy. That's my only point. The fact that we do need advocacy. We do need humanitarian work. We do need you and everybody else doing what they're doing on the ground to make people's lives better. But here's the thing. If we do not fix the systems that are in place that are intentionally hurting people and that are keeping people in places of pain, then all the humanitarian work that we are doing individually, we will just simply find ourselves cleaning up the debris that comes from broken policies. That's what I was doing before I ran for governor, is I was running a poverty fighting organization, but I found myself thinking to myself, like, we are doing so much to focus on food and education and housing, but if I continue having to battle bad policies, then I'm never gonna be able to save as many people as I hope to save. We've gotta end this practice of bad policies. AB 12 helped to save you. That was policy. And so we need to do all the other work. We got to do the advocacy. We got to do the humanitarian work. But at the same time, we need better policies that continue to hurt people and then are asking us to turn around and be superheroes when we shouldn't have to be superheroes, because you shouldn't have had to dealt with the heartache and the pain that you had to deal with. I'm sorry that there were not better policies in place to support you.
I'm not, because now we get to learn. Now I get to raise my voice and I get to understand it.
But I'm thankful
That's
for
the
better
thing.
policies now
That's the
that
thing,
are
though,
able to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm saying I don't think it's an either or. I don't think it's a, it's voting or do humanitarian work. I don't think it's voting or make sure we're doing advocacy.
But
I
it
don't think
doesn't
it's
happen
voting
just
or.
in the White House, though. It
Oh, I
happens
agree.
with a group of people saying enough, I want change.
And in fact-
it happened locally here today, right now.
100%. And in fact, I would argue, if you look at who votes in presidential elections, you know in the last presidential election, about 70% of the population voted. Do you know what the number was in the midterm election? Around 46. And I think this is crazy for people because my point is this. Y'all think that it's just the presidential election that matters. Do you know who actually has the most direct impact on all of your lives? It's, are you voting for your city council people? Are you voting for your state legislators who passed AB 12? Are you voting for your mayor? Are you voting for your governor? Because so much of our lives, our education system, public safety, housing, these are things that the federal government, the president of the United States, they're not in charge of that. It's actually local folks. And so what I want people to do, I want people to be the activists. I want people to be the humanitarians. I want people to be the social service providers. I want all that. And I want you to make sure we get better people who are sitting in these seats so they can stop passing policies that are hurting families like yours and mine.
All right, we got to stop there. We're out of time. So please return to your seat.
I so respect this story, man. For real. I really do. We'll talk.
When it's time to scale your business, it's time for Shopify. Get everything you need to grow the way you want. Like, all the way. Stack more sales with the best converting checkout on the planet. Track your cha-chings from every channel, right in one spot. And turn real-time reporting into big-time opportunities. Take your business to a whole new level. Switch to Shopify. Start your free trial today.
Priceline Negotiator.
It's me, the
Priceline Negotiator.
We don't need the jingle twice.
What about a third time?
Stop it. This is about vacation inflation and how Priceline negotiates amazing deals on hotels, flights, and rental cars.
Seems like you decided.
Yeah, but I didn't mention that you can save up to 60% off hotels in the Priceline app.
Time to read the tagline.
Fine. No one deals more deals than
Priceline.
Please stop.
Priceline.
Touche.
Priceline.
Priceline.
All right. Great job to all of the folks who came to the center. Great job, Governor Moore. We are to the last portion of the video. We're going to ask you to look around the circle and select somebody who you either want to keep the conversation going with, somebody you haven't spoken to, somebody who you want to dig further into your disagreements with, and you will debate their claim for 10 minutes.
This is hard, man. This is hard. This is really. You didn't get picked yet. I know. Actually, Pri, I want to keep our conversation going because there are a couple points that I wanted to be able to make, but I want to keep this conversation.
Okay, so my surrounding claim is that I feel that I need to sleep peacefully at night, and today, within the political framework, it's just not working for me or the people I know. So I feel like when I'm voting for the wrong thing, and I can't be part of it. So how would you tell me to?
Yo, that's a good claim, man.
Here you go.
I understand that. Because I think there's a lot of things going on in our world right now that I know I'm losing sleep over too. I think we are watching a pain that is being inflicted upon people it's not even piercing anymore. It's like chronic.
So let's go into detail. Would you mind going into detail? What exactly is at the forefront of your mind when you're answering my question?
I mean, I still think it's ridiculous that we have a society that allows children to grow up in poverty the way this society does.
And that's absolutely atrocious and awful. So
Because it's like we're allowing the fate of our children to be decided before they even have a say. We're allowing kids to come up in conditions that are teaching them to frankly hate the society in which they grow up in because they do not think the society sees them at all. And one of the things that I know that I want to focus on, and the reason why I got into politics in the first place, is if we cannot address the issue of child poverty, if we cannot address the issue of providing our children a better start, then each and every one of us are derelict. And I think about what you mentioned about the thing that helps us to lose sleep, and I think it kind of goes back to me. What I think about too is why do we do this, and why do I still engage, and why don't I just give up on it? I think part of it for me is because I know the shoulders that I stand on, and I know the eyeballs that are on us right now, and who are telling us,
oh
you cannot
yeah, that's right.
Because you all are the ones who are going to help determine what tomorrow is going to look like, and if we are looking them in the eyes and saying that there's nothing that we can do
The
anymore,
maintenance drone actually
I
has a
cannot
high.
stress enough the level of disrespect that we are sending to those who were willing to fight on our behalf, and frankly for the ones who are going to come after us, our kids, who need us to be their champion right now.
Okay, so as a child, growing up, I went through a lot of tragedy growing up. And I was privileged to have a very large network around me of people who, you know, like socially, like we had family friends, we had a large family, people were talking to each other. Today in the United States, people are not talking to each other. You can't have a conversation. A child can't ask you a question and get what they need to make their own decision. That's how a child evolves. That's how they learn to make their own decisions. Again, we are America. We are the leader of the free world, yet it seems like everybody is just, when it comes to voting, we're voting for one side or the other to try and insert more control over us. How can you sleep at night properly knowing that you're associated with either one of those parties doing that? Now, somebody mentioned about lobbying. I have 2 parents on Medicaid. I lost them 20 years ago when they got into opioids. I can't wear them off them. So when I go into, and I do go into rabbit holes, and I do try to find out, like, how can this be America? You know, because I wasn't born here, and I think even just the 2 words, common sense, it makes people go crazy, but it's something that should be taught in schools. If we care about the children, if we care about humanity, we care about each other, we should start caring about ourselves first, correct? But if that basic principle isn't taught in school, how is anyone doing their job correctly?
And actually, I think part of it, as you answer to it, is we've got to be a society that gets to know each other again. You know, and I'm sorry to hear about your family. Your child.
Yeah, I've come over it, and they've come over it, and we have to just concentrate on what we can do going forward, right?
Well, I was saying, I lost my dad when I was 3 because he didn't get the health care he needed, and I don't know if I'm ever going to get over it.
I'm sorry.
And so I feel for you.
I'm sorry.
No, and I'll say this though. When I talk about how elections have consequences, you know, one of the first things that we did when I became the governor of Maryland is we made Maryland the first state in the country that now has a service year option for all of our high school graduates, where every high school graduate now has a chance to have a year of service paid to the state of Maryland, and they can do whatever they want to do. They can work serving veterans, they can work serving young people, they can work on the environment, they can work with older adults. I tell them, like, the only thing we ask is, tell us what makes your heart beat a little bit faster, and we're going to give you a way to go solve that problem. We did it because it's become a great workforce development tool. We did it because it's helped to address the fact that we had so many kids between the ages of 18 and 25 who were neither in school nor employed, and it's helped to address that. But you know what it also did was, I believe deeply that particularly in this time of this political divisiveness and political vitriol, that service will save us. We've got to get to know each other again. And I agree with you that if we can be a society that's actually able to work on big things together, that's not disengaging, but is actually engaging, and that's working together on things, I think that's going to give our society the best chance of actually making our way through this.
Okay, so you're obviously in the seat that you're in, and we are all who we are, and we see what we see. We see corruption, we see fraud, we see a lot of against law and order and for law and order, and a lot of ice this and ice that. And let me just be very honest, when it comes to immigration, it's a touchy topic for me, because I voluntarily left England, and then when I came here, I love living here. But I think it's cruel. I can't vote because I think that the way the voting system, or the way that it's just built, is cruel and controlling and coercive towards people, normal everyday people who should be so proud to be American. It's like, with the immigration system, I don't know if anyone knows what's happening in the UK, but it's heartbreaking. So as an immigrant who came through the correct channels and seeing what's happened there, you can't let your kids out of your sight nowadays. Do you know, and how did it get so bad? So we do have a problem, a global problem, and law and order is needed to a certain extent, but on one side it's so loose and the other side is so stringent, but we have to come back to the middle. So how do we do that without going the extra mile to get there? So right now the choices on the table don't really give us that option. It's either going further that way or the other way. So why should we?
But I think that our ability to engage and our ability to make sure that we have people who actually reflect those values, I think that actually is going to help to be the balm that we need to actually be able to heal. Because I think that if we somehow think that it will get better just because, it won't. It will not get better because we close our eyes and hope it does. You know what I want? When I have people who are making decisions about whether or not they're going to support people on Medicaid or not, when I know there are people who are making decisions about whether or not our children are going to get food, when I know there are people who are making decisions, are we going to actually heal historic and societal wounds that this country has perpetrated upon so many people in this country? I want to make sure that when those decisions are being made, that there are people who actually have a heart for the people who are then making those decisions. Because it's not going to get better if I then choose to say I'm not going to engage or get involved. The only way it's going to get better is if we all choose to fundamentally lean in and say we are not going to allow our society to be worse for future generations than it was for the one that we inherited.
So we can all go by through our own individual experiences. Would you say that's correct?
Absolutely.
Right? So
I think we all do.
Yeah, you're an anomaly. You're one of your kind, I have to say, because I've met a few politicians and they'll say one thing to your face, and then you watch them do their job and they just don't do anything, and that's what gets up my skin. You know, it really, like I've had people literally, homelessness in LA, for example. I was at a fundraiser and I met somebody who was nominated a couple of years ago, and they were like, "Yeah, that's forefront of what it is." Okay, lo and behold, the rates got worse. Everything got worse. Where did the money go? Where's the corruption? What's happened to it, right? And I understand this is not your state. I understand it's not you. But this is just one example. There's so much fraud coming out left, right, and centre. And although it's being covered up so people don't see it, that's okay. But I'm very vigilant. I notice everything. I may not say a lot, but I notice everything. And I do have a heart. And I do care about people.
Why don't you run for office?
God. Really?
I'm serious. Why wouldn't you run for office?
Why wouldn't?
Because I want people running for office who actually never lose that skepticism, right? Like, here's the thing. I still have skepticism, and I'm a governor. Skepticism will always be my companion. It just will never be my captor. I will never lose my skepticism because I think my skepticism is the thing that will keep me pushing. My skepticism was the thing that will always keep me questioning. My skepticism will be the thing that will always make me say, that's not right, or that's not what you said, and I'm never gonna lose that. I just do not want it ever to be my captor. I don't want skepticism to win. I don't want you disengaging. I want you running for office.
I do.
I want you all out there saying, you know what? If they're not doing it right, then let me go ahead and have a take at it. When I first ran for governor, there were literally about a dozen people running for governor. Statewide elected officials, countywide elected officials, the former head of the Democratic Party, and me, the guy who would never run for office before in my life. That was the field. I remember there was one time we had a 4th of July barbecue, and everyone came out and they're like, all the candidates can come out, they can talk for 5 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever it was. And everyone goes out there and they're out there in their suits and all this stuff. And I showed up, and first of all, it was like 100 degrees out there. And so I showed up in shorts and a polo. And people were like, he's not taking it seriously. This is a vanity run. It's not. I'm like, it's not a vanity run. I'm just hot. I'm not going to play that game. Like, I'm hot. And I remember the former Speaker of the House from Maryland, she called me up that night. And she said, have you heard the brouhaha about your attire? Yeah, and I was like, she's like, have you heard the brouhaha about your attire? I said, yes, ma'am, I have. And she said, can I give you one piece of advice? I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, do not spend a second trying to be like them. Make them try to be like you. Because if you do that, you might actually have a chance of winning this thing.
So I'll be completely honest with you. When it comes to politics, for me, it's like I think that the biggest thing lacking in this country is self-love. Okay, and I want to focus all of my energies to make people realize what power they have within their choices by going inwards. That's my purpose in life, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm not interested in making one side hate the other or someone choose me over someone else. I'm interested in people choosing themselves, you know, and I think that if we can start loving ourselves, the small things that we do for ourselves, we can exude that outwards. The current political landscape, they're just not talking to each other. Oh, you're on that side, you don't exist to me, I'm not going to talk to you. And I think it's like a school playground. It's awful.
When you go into the system, you know what I remember saying to my team when I was first running for governor, I said, because most people didn't know me. And I was like, listen, I have no problem spending all day introducing myself to people who don't know me.
One, that doesn't work
I refuse to spend a single second reintroducing myself to people who do know me. And so the whole point of that is,
I need
be
one
true to
good
you.
buff.
The reason that I need better people entering into this system is I think we have far too many people in this system who are doing it for themselves. This is my issue with the corruption. This is my issue with people who are making decisions because it's best for them and their families and not best for you and your families or you and your families or me and my families. I need better people. I need better colleagues. I need people who are in it for the people and not in it for themselves or not in it for the special interests. And so you, by entering into the system, you don't have to change. Make them change. That should be the goal.
And we have to stop there. We are out of time. Great job. All right. Just want to give a round of applause to everybody in the circle. Great job, everybody. And obviously, a round of applause to you, Governor Moore. You did fantastic.
Thank you.
If this video convinced you to vote, let us know in the comments. It was also a privilege to have an elected official in the center of the circle, so thanks for being on it. If you want to see more politicians in the show, let us know who and put it in the comments, and maybe we'll make it happen. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, man. Do I have 2 seconds to answer your question, or no? Okay, Priya asked a question, she said, so I hear what you're saying, so why are you a Democrat? And it's funny because, and you know what's crazy, is that they made a big deal, like operatives, and I don't care, I don't know if it was Republican or Democratic operatives, made a big deal about the fact that when I was in college, I was both a part of the college Republicans and the college Democrats. And what's crazy is that, now first of all, I told them, I was part of both of them because I'm a college student, like they were offering free pizza, so I'm joining every club. I'm real talk. I probably joined 50 different clubs because it was free pizza. But the most important thing is I think it highlights the fact that I don't come from a political family. There are some families that come up and who are straight up we are Democrats in this family or we are Republicans in this family. My family came up and was like, yo, I don't care about none of this in this family. This whole thing has actually been very frankly, it's been an education for me. Because we didn't come up in that binary political system. But as I'm going through the process of learning about these parties and learning about their history, and when I decided, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and run for governor. I thought about not necessarily which one did I want to more connect with, is I thought about which one was more connected with my values. And I think about it when I talk about how when I was 17, I joined the Army when I was 17. I was 17 years old, and I remember on our early days of military training, they taught us this phrase that I never forgot, and it was simple. It was leave no one behind. Ever. It was drilled into us, and this idea of listen, if you get one of my people, I will send a battalion to go get them if I have to. We leave no one behind. If you're one of my people, you are good and you are protected, right? And so that became my leadership philosophy on how I did the work. That became the leadership philosophy when I was running a poverty fighting organization. We leave no one behind. The thing that I kept on seeing when I looked at the policies, and again, I'm not saying any of them are perfect, so y'all hear me on this one. But when I'm watching a party philosophy that's talking about things like taking people off of healthcare, when I'm watching a party philosophy that's talking about things like, we need to give wealthy people tax cuts because it trickles down, and I'm like, when is it going to trickle down? So that was the thing that got me, where it wasn't me trying to fit into a party. It was trying to understand which party better fits with my philosophy, and then how am I going to then address that? So that's, I'm sorry, I just want to say that was the answer to your question. I love those conversations. The only thing I'm really hoping for is that not only do they become voters because their voice is going to matter, I actually hope there's a whole bunch of them who are going to run for office. They ask really good questions. I think their frustrations are real, and I think their frustrations are justified. Did Wes convince you to vote today?
Wes did not convince me to vote today, but I do like what he said about not letting skepticism be your captain.
Okay,
like
let's
that
try
idea a lot.
this.
I'll take that
Let's
one
try
with me
this.
because I'm a natural skeptic. But no, I don't think he ultimately addressed most of the issues we talked about.
Did Wes convince you to vote today?
Wes did convince me to vote today. I think voting is one form of participation, but it's not the only tool available to us. So whilst I think it's very important for people to vote, I also think it's important for people to participate in civic discourse.
Okay, let's see something.
Local
What
community
if I do
groups,
this?
To be involved in community watchdogs, trade unions, workers' rights, any opportunity you have to advocate for a positive social change in our community.
Did Wes convince you to vote today?
No, but he did agree with a lot of my points, so I have hope that there could be reform in the future.
Would you ever run for office?
That's a big question. I do have a yes and no answer, probably not, but I wouldn't mind standing beside somebody who I believe in.
The thing that I want to say to non-voters is if you choose to disengage, you cannot complain when the nightmares continue. But if we choose to get involved, if we choose to support people who actually are going to do what they say they're going to do, if we choose to make sure the people who we believe in are actually running for these seats and running for these offices, and then hold them to account when they do, then I think we're actually doing something where we can build a society that people came before us that they hope for. And for people that come after us, we can build a society.
Okay, I'm going to do one
Don't
test.
forget to subscribe to
about
Surrounded
this.
wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss an episode. And if you want to watch the video version of Surrounded, subscribe to Jubilee on YouTube.
This episode is brought to you by White Claw. Grab life. Grab old friends who know you best. Grab new faces you don't know yet. Grab your pack. Grab a 12-pack of White Claw. Grab a variety of iconic flavors. Tropical mango or summer black cherry for every personality in your crew. Grab 100 calories and 2 grams of carbs. Grab a lightly sparkling, seriously refreshing taste for moments that don't need a filter. Grab life by the claw. White Claw. Please drink responsibly. White Claw Seltzer Works, Chicago, Illinois.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Tap the banner or visit usaa.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's helpful. That's way more helpful than play kit. Look at this. Look at this. If I don't attack, look at this. I can do this. And they won't attack me. At all. This should have been one of my main powers, honestly. This will help me so much. Okay. I leveled up Turing test. I got stealth. Everything's pretty good, I think. Debating where I should put these. Okay. Obviously I could run faster. It wouldn't be a problem anymore because of the stealth. I would prefer to have all my toggles sort of in the same area. But I also want separation between powers that are not the same. Okay, I think I know what I want to do. You know, I'm just going to test them one more time. This time with super speed. Let's do this. I'm going to run into a bunch of enemies. If I die, I die. If I die, I die. If I die, I die. Okay, let's see. Attack me. Nope. No attack. No attack. No attack. Let's see. Wow. This is going to be a very useful ability. Okay, let's do that next time. I finished the podcast. Okay, that was good. Stealth is actually going to be very, very useful in the future. I didn't realize how powerful it was. Okay, let's try and page up this time.